Candypants Lifestyle Podcast. Interviewing the world's industry leaders on their journey.
Where do we go from here?
Hello, and welcome along to the Candypants Lifestyle Podcast. I'm Nick, and this week we spoil you rotten. Tony Truman is the man behind some of Ibiza's best-known bars, beach clubs and hotels. And you're about to discover his story so far is even wilder than his venues. It's the journey of a man who spent a lifetime as a professional in partying. He's been at the centre of police sting operations, thrown parties inside a volcano, narrowly avoided prison, and almost died. And that's all before going on to found O Beach alongside friend of the podcast Wayne Lineker and founding what's been named the most Instagrammable hotel in the world, Wiki Woo. Every so often you hear the kind of story you think, someone needs to make a film out of this. Well, this is one of those stories. We don't quite have the budget for a feature-length film, and I'm certainly no Steven Spielberg, meaning a chat on our little podcast will have to do. So strap yourselves in, hold on to your hats, and honestly, just try to keep up as we dive headfirst into the roller coaster journey of Mr. Tony Truman. Tony, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
My pleasure.
So for people who don't know you, if for example you were speed dating and you could just briefly tell someone what it is you do now, what would it be?
Have a good time. My mate calls me a GTI, and it means good time instigator. And that's what he says. He said, I know you're a businessman and you do lots of work and you actually work very hard. He said, but more than anything, he said, you're more well known for having a good time and having fun. And so I suppose, that's not a bad analogy of it.
So if we go right back to the start, you've got a pretty brilliant story about how you got into parties, haven't you?
Yeah, I know it's quite well documented, that story. Yeah, it's madness, really, because it is actually, everything is true what happened, when we sort of think about it. Even though at the time of being a 15-year-old boy starting parties, it was just like, a bit of fun. I never actually thought, right, I'm going to have this vision at 15 and one day I'm going to own a massive big beach club. I always sort of, when I sort of got kicked out of school, when I was 15, and they said I couldn't go to the end of school party, which I was absolutely devastated about because all the kids were going. And I went back up to school, even with my parents, and they said, no, you're not going, it's your punishment, you can't go, blah, blah, blah. So my mum was like, you've got to do your own party. She said, you're the ringleader, you're the instigator of it all. Why don't you sort of do your own sort of party? So we went down and we hired a boat on the Thames, like to do a school disco, basically. And the only day we could actually get the boat for, it fell on the same night as the school party. So my mum was like, she was pushing. She said, go for it, do it. She said, all the kids will come to your party. So I took a bit of a gamble, and I hired the boat, and literally, I think 280 kids came onto this boat, and apparently 20 odd people turned up to the school party. And we done a party, and it was absolutely amazing, and everyone loved it. Even one of the teachers, who I was pretty close to at the school, came to it. Right, and which really made me feel proud that I had one of the teachers sort of on my side, and I think he saw the goodness in me, even though I was a bit of a bad boy. And so that was my first ever party. I didn't actually bill it as True's Do's. The name actually True's Do's came a couple of years later, but everyone just called it the Truman Party. I got the Truman Party, and then I done another one. I think a year later, I hired a local rugby club. And that was brilliant, that was, because I went to the guy, and looking back on how you hire venues now, and you have to have deposits, you have to have references and things like that. I went to the guy and I said, can I hire the village hall? And he said, yeah. I said, how much is it? And he said, it was 20 quid and you got it for 24 hours. Here's the keys. It was like, are you kidding me? Really? He didn't put any number restrictions on it. No, nothing. He said, I just want it back in the same state you give it to me in. So, of course, I had this massive party in there, and literally like hundreds of kids turned up. All the older kids turned up and everything. And literally, after the first half an hour, we had to shut the door. It was just rammed out. Everyone was, underage drinking and partying, and like then next day I've got all the mums and that ringing up my mum saying, your son's putting on these parties and like that. And my mum's always been really cool. She said, well, at least he's showing some initiative, stuff like that. And then what happened that summer, literally when I was 15, we went out, me, my mum and my stepdad and one of my best mates, and we went out to Ibiza, and we met these 3 boys from Essex in the hotel who were like 3 years older than us. And when you're 15, that's quite a big age difference, isn't it? They seemed like sort of grown men, and they was like, oh, come to this bar, come to that bar. And they was taking us to like the Star Bar and Es Paradis. And then they said, right, we've got to go to this club. It's supposed to be absolutely out of this world. It's called the Coup Club. And I'd never even heard of it. And we've been just going around the West End sort of, the 2 weeks that we was in Ibiza and stayed round there. Then they took us to the Coup Club that night, and it was just, I can honestly say that did transform actually how I thought. I didn't think I'd ever own a club like that myself at the time, but I was just so wow, blown away, speechless. Mind-blowing, swimming pools, exotic dancers, music, people just in the just incredible. The dragon entrance and everything like that. It was unbelievable. So when I come back, I was like, Mum, this is what I want to do. I want to organise parties. So that was it, really. So we started on that road, So that's what I just kept on doing, and they just sort of grew in sort of stature, and the venues got better and better as we went along.
So at what point did it become more of a career, where you had a first bar or a first party, or you were just doing that and that was paying the bills, essentially?
Well, I think when I went to Gran Canaria when I worked. I went on holiday with all my mates. We went to a few different holiday resorts around Europe. When I went to Gran Canaria, and we got in a big punch up, and got a big punch up like you do, silly idiots on holiday when you're young like that. And I got arrested, and basically they wanted to actually give us 3 months in Spanish prison. So I was like 18 at the time, 19. I was like, oh my God, I was so scared. And this bar where we'd been drinking in, the guy turned around and said, listen, I'll bail you and my mates out. He said, if you come and work for me. So we was like, well, okay. So that's what I did. I went and worked for him. I ended up working for him a few years on and off, few summers. And he never actually asked for the repayment of the money. He was just happy that me and my pals were all working at his bar and building it up. So then I actually thought, you know what, I definitely want to sort of one day get a bar. So that was my first goal. And I was, about 20 then. So then I came back to England, and I was done another couple of big parties and everything. But the parties, what had happened then, by working abroad for that first time, that instead of just sort of pulling in my local friends from Surrey and Kingston and where I lived, that the experience of working abroad, and I always say this to people, my staff members now, I said the amazing thing about working abroad for the first time, not only do you grow up as a person and you learn to do all the things that you'd never do at home, which your mum always does for you, right? Just from simple things like ironing and cleaning and stuff like that. When you're on your own and you are working abroad with like the same type of people in the same boat, it does make you grow up very fast. It does make you grow up very, very fast. But also it broadens your horizon to people from up north, from Ireland, from Scotland, from Wales, from Spain, from France, from Holland, from Germany, from everywhere. Because suddenly you're coming more international in just how you are as a person and other people's cultures and things like that. So what that done for me was when I came back and I done my next party in England, I had like all the girls come from Manchester, all the girls come from Newcastle, all the people come from the South Coast, and suddenly they weren't just Tony Truman's Trues Do's parties of everyone I'd gone to school with and grown up with. I was bringing in loads of other people, and at the same time, like obviously the dance scene had sort of started to explode in all the raves and things like that, and we was going to the raves and meeting people from all over. So then when I'd done a party, these other people would come to it, and that's how my sort of network grew. Right, and I was always really good at, obviously then there wasn't mobile phones or computers to have all social media accounts and databases. I used to collect everyone's name and address. I don't know how I'd done it and why I'd done it, but I used to have the biggest black book you'd ever seen. It used to be like the Yellow Pages, and literally stacked hundreds and hundreds of numbers of addresses, but all home phone numbers, of course. So then when I used to do a party, I used to just sit there and do mail out lists and things like that. And because it became sort of so well known, the parties, everyone just wanted to come.
So tell me about this first bar or the first kind of thing you ended up having
Oh
where it's an
yes,
actual
sorry,
property.
I touched a little bit there tonight. Right, yeah. So I've done this big party, and this woman and her brother had this bar where I live in Kingston. It was like a small wine bar, and she'd sort of lost interest. It was more of a bit of a hobby for her and everything like that. And she said to me, Tony, she said, would you like to come and run my bar for me? So I said, well, yeah, I'd love to, you know. Not I'd actually run one myself before. I've worked in many, and there's, you know, from waiters, from PR in to, you know, behind the bar, whatever. So I'd done that, and for 6 months I built it up, and we absolutely packed it out. It was solid, and we'd done such a good job. She turned around and she said, you know what? She said, you deserve to have this bar. She's 24 years of age. She charged me 25 grand for it. So one of my best friends at the time, who was always a very cool London promoter, I said to him, his name's Tony Levan, I said, do you want to come in with me on this bar? So me and him went in, put the money in, and we relaunched it. And oh my God, we had just 2 years of complete carnage and mayhem. We were open. Our hours of opening the bar was open more hours than when it was actually closed. If you get what I mean. Our licensing hours were like something like 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. at night. We never used to close that till probably 9, 10 o'clock in the morning. we just had lock-ins every single night, doing parties. It was a mental period. And then we got raided, and the old bill took it off us.
So what did you do then?
Basically, you know, it come a bar of debauchery, really. We just didn't care. We were young, we were naive. Everyone was selling drugs, taking drugs, late night drinking. Everything was going on. It was a proper full sex, drugs and rock and roll bar at the time, and we just went along for the ride. We just didn't think of the business stuff. And of course, when we got raided, they done an operation on us. They put hidden cameras in the ceilings. They befriended us, undercover police women. They were coming back to I had this house with a swimming pool at the time where we were having loads of parties in, and they just like done this operation on us for 3 months, and nicked us all basically. And so the police went to the landlords of the bar, and the landlord said we was in breach of our contract and foreclosed on our lease. So our world literally came crumbling down overnight. My only sparing grace was where one of the undercover police women, she turned around and she said, well, you know, I've got to know Tony really well over the last 3 months. I know he's not a drug dealer. I know he doesn't even take drugs. You know, I smoked a few joints, not going to lie, right? But he's not into what everybody else was doing, you know, in a big way. So lucky enough, I was okay. But what a learning curve! What a learning curve! Right? Well, you thought I'd have learned. I still would have made this same mistake years later. What did I do then? After that, I think we went and had a few boys' holidays. We went back to Ibiza and a few holidays, and then I went back out to Gran Canaria again, and I ended up working there for another couple of years. Met a whole different set of friends again, and that's right. And when I was in Gran Canaria. Because obviously I've got to know from some of the parties, I've got to know a few of the big DJs at the time, like Brandon Block, Alex P, and everyone. I started doing parties. There was this Spanish promoter called Tito, and DJ he was, and he was doing some parties right out of town. And he said to me, Tony, you've got the biggest pull with all the English people, all the British people. He said, why don't you come in with me on these parties? They're called Paradise, ironically enough, what Jamie Jones has got now. But this was way before that. And it was like, they called it a volcano in Gran Canaria because the Canary Islands are very volcanic. But it wasn't actually a volcano, but it was like a crater of one. And these Spanish guys had created this amazing open-air secret club without a license. Right. So then what I started doing, I organised with all like big DJs to come over from the UK. And then I just used my massive network in Playa de Ingles, the resort where we was living. And on Saturday nights, we was taking like 1,000 people out of the resort. I had coaches of all these people going up to this mountain, to this open-air rave, and they just loved it. It was the best thing to happen to Gran Canaria for a couple of years for the tourism. But then what happened? All the nightclubs in Playa de Ingles, this particular holiday resort, are owned by a very powerful sort of mafioso style guy. Anyway, next minute I'm standing on the street and I get lifted off the street by these guys, like something you see out of a movie. And they put me in the back of this wagon, and I thought, oh God, what's going on here? Yeah. It's very sort of gangster movie-ish, and they literally drove me to these very plush offices in Las Palmas, where I met this guy in question, and he was there, and he said, listen, we know what you're doing. He said, He said, we know what you're doing. He said, you've got two things. You either stop the parties now or you leave Gran Canaria. So it was a simple question. I think I left 2 days later. I thought no, but that really gave me that, wow, we were pulling such sort of big numbers out that, the selling on the streets and things like that could be done. So that was a real experience in itself.
Tony, this story is so much better than I ever imagined.
And I'm only up to age 28. And honestly, I was 28 then, and I come. Do you want me to carry on a bit?
Yes, it's amazing.
Funny, actually, because I don't actually get time to sort of sit down and reflect too much about it all. And then I came back to England, and I think I just got a job painting and decorating, doing a bit of building with my mate, and then I said, right, it's time I'd done another party. But I remember being really sort of skint at the time and everything. So we sort of done that. We've done a few parties, built them up again, and sort of got everyone interested. And so I was doing the parties, and then it got to Millennium Eve. And basically, that's what had happened. Sorry. What had happened, a mate of mine who was a property developer, he built these multi-million-pound houses for footballers and stuff. He came to me, he said, Tone, I've bought these 2 great big mansions in Esher where we live. He said, I've just given like £1.5 million each for them, which in 1998 this was, which is a lot of money.
Yeah.
And he said, basically, I've been trying to get planning permission on there to build 12 houses on the 2 plots. He said, they won't give it to me. He said, I'm going to give you these 2 houses. Go and move in there for 18 months. Within 18 months, they'll be begging me to build the houses. He said, that is honestly, he said that is exactly what's going to happen. He said you're going to piss off all the neighbours. So I was like, wicked. I remember loving it. I remember going round. I actually never even had a key to my front door of these houses. I lived there for 2 years, right? I went round there. There was 2 great big Playboy Mansion style houses. I said, listen, I only need one of them, right, for the time being. I'll start off with the one at the back, right? So me and my pal moved in. It had like 8 bedrooms, no furniture. I remember taking my mum there. And my mum, I said, come mum, have a look at this, what I've just been given. My mate's just given it to me. So we walked in there and we're walking round. My mum's head's dropped. She's like, oh my God, this is just going to be a proper den of iniquity. It's going to be like a party brothel, isn't it? And that's actually what we named the house. We named it the brothel. So of course we went to all my mates who'd done a bit of building. We got all these old sofas, beds and everything, and me and my pals just moved in, and we had 2 years of non-stop partying. But then on Millennium Eve I was planning this party. This is how big the house was. On New Year's Eve I was going to have a party. I planned it. It was called Back to the Future, and it was a Millennium Eve. I was having 2,000 people in the house, and I was doing a 2,000-minute party for 2,000 people celebrating the year 2000. I'd had marquees put up in the garden. My mate had come in, who was a tree fella, Barry, cut all the trees down to make room. I'd sold over 1,000. I was literally, so it was a week before the party, I'd sold over 1,000 tickets. I think I sold about 1,400 tickets at £100 each, and we'd spent all the money on the production and everything, having this wild, crazy. And next minute, the environmental health, the police, the council, they all raided my house. And my shop at the time, I had a beauty shop. They all come, you can't do this party, or you're breaking the law. I was like, you're joking. Everybody's having a Millennium party. Everybody's having weren't they? Everyone was having if you were alive at that time, a Millennium Eve party. It was just a done thing to do. And me being a party promoter, that's what I was doing. And then the old Bill came in, literally arrested me, closed it down. And this was a week before the party. It was the worst week of my life. It really was one of the worst weeks for sure. And they took me down to the police station. They said, listen, you cannot be doing this. We haven't got the police manpower. You've got 2,000 people coming to your house. How do you think you can get away with this without a public entertainment licence, which was a PEL at the time? I said, well, everybody's doing it. It's Millennium Eve. They said, not everybody's having 2,000 people in their house. They're having small gatherings. They said, you've got to cancel it. And I said, I cannot cancel it. My reputation and what I do will be finished forever. Plus, all the money people have paid in advance for the tickets, I'd spent it on the marquees, on the sound systems, on the deposits, on the artists, on the printing, you name it. I'd blown the lot on all of that and lived off part of it as well. And So the police said, no, you've got to do it. I said, I'm not cancelling it. I refused to cancel it. They said, well, we'll arrest you. And I said, you can't arrest me because the party hasn't happened yet. I said, you can maybe come and arrest me on the night. I sort of knew my rights and everything. And they said, well, what are the options? They said, what are the options? I said, I'll tell you what, that we had a local nightclub where we lived. And I was actually banned from there. The guy didn't like me anyway. This guy really didn't like me. And I said, I'll tell you what, the only thing I'll do, if you go and see the guy, Danny, who owns this club, I said, if you go and see him and tell him that I'll move my party to his club, right? I'll do that. And so they said, all right, come with us then. So I literally got in the back of the police car. We drove down to his club. And I pulled up with like these 3 coppers and this Danny guy who doesn't like me standing there anyway. And the coppers have said, right, this is Tony Truman. He's like, yeah, I know who he is. He said, well, we're having a big Millennium party. He said, yeah, I know. That's why I've had to close my club New Year's Eve because he's having a party. Everybody's going to it. Right? He said, everyone's going. The police said, right, well, now the party's going to be at your club. And he said, no, I'm not doing business. I'm not having his party there. The police turned around and said, if you don't have his party, we're going to take your licence away. Right, so they sort of really called his bluff. So he said, all right, I'll do it, but I want 30 grand. So lucky enough, we had the money and we paid him and we had the party. But that week of me telling literally 1,500 to 2,000 people that they're not going to a party in a big mansion, they're going to a party in a big nightclub. Obviously, everyone was gutted. Everyone was gutted, but, I managed to survive it. I managed to pull the party off, but it was a very, very, very stressful week of my life, that. What a way to kick off the millennium, eh?
Oh, Tony, this story has blown my mind. Right. So where did it go next?
So that was, obviously, I had a minute in me. I was 32. I was 32 then. And that's right. So then after that, anyway, my mate got the planning permission on the house, which was amazing. So he was absolutely over the moon. So he said, look, Tony, you have to move out of the house. So I went and rented this other house. He actually got the house for me. And a lovely house, but a lot smaller. And basically was having a party one night and the house burnt down. But it tragically burnt down because a girlfriend of mine actually died in the fire at the house. So, and I nearly lost my life as well in this fire at my house. And I was in hospital on a life support machine. It was the anniversary not long ago, 20 years since she died.
Wow.
And so that was brought me back down to earth and reality, that having all these fun and these wild times come at it makes me really sad, thinking about it all. It's just terrible and just sort of killed everything that I was doing, the fun-wise and everything. And the reality check that someone from us all having fun has died was just really, really... something I would probably never, ever forget and never get over, for sure. So we stopped the parties for a little while, and I thought, right, I was 32, I thought, I just cannot go on like this. I've just nearly died from partying and whatever. I need to sort of get serious and everything. So my mum said, well, why don't you go and do a computer course? so I said, it's totally random, I know. So I went and done a computer course, and all my mates said, come on, let's go to Ibiza on holiday. So we all went on Ibiza on holiday. We had an amazing, amazing time, stayed in this lovely villa, and then I thought, you know what, I'm just going to spend more time in Ibiza again. I wanted to so I spent a bit more time in Ibiza. A mate of mine at the time had a villa company. Right. And it called Exclusive World, a guy called Aaron, and me and Aaron just were chatting, and Aaron said he wanted to get into more of the party side of things. I said, well, why don't we team up then? Why don't we team up? I said, I've got all my mates come to Ibiza all the time, booking villas. I said, I've got thousands of people behind me as followers from parties and stuff. So that's what we've done. We started doing a few villa parties in Ibiza, and we've done sort of really well. That was brilliant. Then came back to England, and we decided to do a massive party together. So we done a huge, great big party called the Pink Party, hired at Paynes Hill Park in Cobham, which was unbelievable, in this massive, great big marquee in this beautiful National Trust grounds. And that was the start of something really good, actually. I think that was a very big turning point for me, business-wise. I suddenly saw the potential business-wise of, instead of it just being a hobby, just earning enough money to sort of keep my cock, basically. Now I could actually see something in front of me, and I was 32 years of age. So literally, 20 years ago? 20 years ago, my sort of fortunes, I suddenly thought, right, I'm going to come a full-time party promoter as well as doing these villas and stuff.
Right.
And we done that for a couple of years. Then Aaron's got his own ideas in business, and I've got my own ideas in business, and they didn't quite mix. So we sort of parted company, and then I sort of had a rebirth of True's Do's. Carried on doing some villa parties in Ibiza for a few years. And then Tony Wheelchair, who's my partner now in Ocean, me and him have been mates from the party scene. Tony had been out the previous summer when I was in Ibiza. He'd been out to Marbella working out there with another mate of ours, George, doing a club. And Tony said, Tony, why don't you come to Marbella next summer and do a party? There's loads of great venues. So I flew out there. I went out there and we found some amazing places. So I said, right, next year, Tony, let's do a party. So we advertised a 5-day trip to Marbella. And a friend of ours had just actually bought the land, which is now the Ocean Club in Marbella, and it just sort of opened it, but nothing had sort of really happened with it or anything. So we went to him and said, "Listen, can we start doing these parties here, and we'll bring in the promoters and everything." And then we hired this another great big mansion out in Marbella, and I think on that first trip, about 700 people flew out. And it was amazing. It was really, really great crowd of people. The parties were going off, and then all the people who lived in Marbella and all down that south coast of Spain, they all turned up. They all wanted to come. They said, "Oh, you got to do another one next year. You got to do another one next year."
Yeah.
So the following year, we done one, and we brought literally 1,500 people. The numbers had doubled on the parties. So we done, instead of 5 days, we done a week. We done 14 parties in a week. We done every day and every night. We done a party. And then, so let's give it another year. So we done the third year, and we took literally 2,500 people. We were hiring planes, we were hiring hotels, and it was just absolute. And the bigger you get, the more carnage it gets. But in the back of my mind, I thought, I'm done with Marbella. I am done with it. I loved it down there for a period of time. I said to Tony, I'm going back. I said, and I've met Wayne. That third year, I've met Wayne, even though me and Wayne didn't know each other.
Right.
We didn't actually know each other, but I'd heard his name for many years from having Lineker's in Tenerife and Porto Banús. And then we was at the Ocean Club. We was doing the party, and me and Wayne met. And I said to him, "Listen, I'm going back to Ibiza. Why don't we do a Lineker's in Ibiza?" And Wayne just went, "I would love to." So I flew over to Ibiza, found the bar, rung Wayne up. I said, "Wayne, come on, have a look at this." He went, "Wow, love it. Let's do it." So the following year, Lineker's opened. That absolutely got off to the most flying start. I think it was just because, I've been in Ibiza a long time. I knew a lot of people. Obviously, Lineker's brand's very famous in its own right and everything. So, and just the mix, we got a load of our mates all come out from the UK to come and work. And we just had the most amazing summer. But then we went from that natural high to the following year to a complete and utter disaster. So we got a bit carried away, I think, on the back of that sort of first year.
Not like you.
Not like us at all.
There's a pattern emerging here.
Yeah, I think that's the trouble. When things are too good, we take it too far, and suddenly we get a kick in the balls and we're brought back down to earth again. But I bet Wayne didn't remember as much as this as what I remember, did he?
Wayne had a very, very polished version of this story.
Did he? Yeah. So these are the true facts. What happened? So then, basically, a friend of mine, he said to me, "Look, Tony, there's a nightclub that's come up in San Antonio. It's a very old, famous nightclub. I used to know it well, the Ecstasies Club." So we went and we met the woman who owned it, and they said, "Yeah, she's interested in sort of doing a lease for us on it." I can't remember what exact number what it was at the time, but it was around about £500,000, and we didn't have £500,000. So, but then a load of my mates had seen the success we'd had on Lineker's. We'll all, and I told them that this club had come up. We'll all chip in and do it. So I got 10 of my pals. We all put in roughly about 50 grand each, something like that. We all chucked in 50 grand. And we opened this nightclub, but, by a shoestring. I think by the time we opened it, the budget was up to $1 million. So we straight away was on the back foot and was in debt. And the club wasn't fully complete. And we opened it. And the club was called Boho. We called it Boho. But the thing was we got it too late in the day. We literally signed the contract the end of March. We spent all April and May doing it up, and we opened in June. So we only had a 2-month turnaround to promote it, book all the talent, get all the staff. It was just so stressful on a shoestring.
So it just didn't work in the end.
It just didn't work. We didn't have at the time. We didn't have deep enough pockets to fund it, to bankroll it through. Maybe if we could have had enough money and got through to the following season. Also, that sort of period of time, I think 2009, there was sort of the recession part had sort of kicked in as well, and tourism was down. Places were getting shut. It was a tough period. It was a real tough period, but we had a wicked laugh. We had a wicked laugh. In fact, one of the funniest times ever was me and two of my partners. We went back to my villa and we realised, I know we shouldn't do this. We lay on the floor and we was like, oh my God, we just basically lost £1 million, which is a shitload of money, right? not just ours, my partners and everything. And we lay on the floor laughing, as we uncontrollably laughing, right? I don't mean to say that in a flash way. It was in the fact that how fucking stupid were we? What idiots. We all thought we were good businessmen and really cool fucking people. And really, we just had a fucking massive slap in the face, a kick in the balls, a stab in the back, whatever. Realised we were shit businessmen and we just spunked the lot up the wall.
So how did from there O Beach come about?
So, believe it or not, the very next year, I'm a glutton for punishment, me, and I'm a glutton for punishment.
Relentless, though, I love it.
Yeah, you got to never give up. You got to never give up, because I always believe you got to keep banging on all the doors, and one day one will open. And lucky enough with Ocean Club, Ocean Beach, it did, and that's why I think you just got to keep. That's people always say to me, I don't know how you kept going, and this leads into what happened with Ocean Club. I think I was in a bit of a sort of dark place the end of that sort of summer. I was so depressed because we put everything into having this nightclub, and my mum came out and she sort of stayed with me for a period of time. And anyway, me and her, we'd always done this same walk along the front there, the Paseo in San Antonio, and we'd always sort of seen that sort of plot where it was an overgrown car park. There was an old Spanish restaurant, nothing like it is today. I know that we're walking along there, and I just said, Mum, look at this. I've got to get this place. We've been saying it for years. I've got to try and get it. My mum was like, really? After everything that's happened with Boho, why don't you just give it up? She was even lost.
She was despairing.
She was despairing. She was like, oh, give it up. Come on, you're not going to get it. Everything's just gone pear-shaped. I said, oh, Mum, I love it. And I climbed over the wall, and there was a Spanish guy in there who couldn't hardly speak any English. And I went in, I couldn't hardly speak any Spanish, and all I remember was like, no. So I walked out there sort of depressed and everything, and then I went back to where the guy who owns the villa I lived in, he was there. He was he's come like a fairy godfather to me in Ibiza. Vicente, he's an amazing guy. He's one of the sort of founders of San Antonio, as it is, built all the hotels in the bay many moons ago, and very powerful, respectful individual. So I went to him and I said, look, Vicente, I said, this plot of land there is not Escandel, it's where it is there, Calamoli. I said, I'm really interested in it. And he says, oh, yeah. He says, I know the family. He says, I grew up with them. I know the mother. They're all Ibisenkos. So they're all intimately linked together with each other. And I said to him, I love it. And he said, oh, leave it with me, Tony. Leave it with me. I'll get you it. I said, really? He said, yes, but you just like every deal. He says, just be patient, wait your time. But I'm not. I can't be patient. I am. I want it tomorrow. I'm so impulsive and impatient. Anyway, I couldn't wait. And then me and Dwayne went and looked at this site in Playa and Bossa. We got, where Plastic Bar opened up their second bar many years later, we got offered that whole parade of shops. We were just literally about to sign a deal to buy that parade of shops in Playa and Bossa, right? And we were like, again, we was going to open up another Lineker's. We was going to open up a Nando's. We had a whole load of concepts that we was going to put in there. And literally the day we went to sign this deal, how mad is this? This is real fate stuff. Yeah. Me, Wayne, Wheelchair, and Dwayne had gone to sign the deal. We went to the restaurant to meet the owner of the locales that we was about to sign for. Uh-huh. We sat round the table with him. We had all the heads of terms and the pre-contracts agreed. And as we was about to sign it, he asked for 50% more money. We were like, whoa, are you joking me? You are joking. We're just about to sign a deal. he thought we was just going to be pressured into it, you know. So we all sat around this table, and then we said, let's go outside and have a chat. So we went outside and all had a chat. We were standing there having a chat. As we was having a chat, we was going to go back in and negotiate the terms. Literally, my phone rang. It was Vicente. He said, Tony, I've got you that place.
Really?
He said, I've got you it. I was like, what? So I just said to the boys, listen, forget this. It's not meant to be. Let's walk away. So we literally walked away from that deal. I still didn't even actually tell the boys then what this was. They didn't even know that I'd been looking at something else. They really didn't.
And following you seemed like a really good idea at the time.
Yeah. So like, we went back to San Antonio. So I went and met Vicente, went down there. We met Chico, who's the current landowner, and he still is. He said, I've got a deal for you. This was the deal. We wrote it out on a piece of paper. We shook hands. Vicente's old school, so you know, once you do that, that's a deal. Yeah. He wouldn't back out. So I rung the boys up. I said, boys, come and meet me. I've got something for you. They were like, what are you fucking on about? And I said, come and have a look at this. So actually only Dwayne came. Yeah. And so Dwayne came down and he went, what is it? And it was all overgrown. I said, me and him climbed over the wall and he went, yeah. I said, this is going to be Ocean Club Ibiza. And he was like, he sort of looked at me, you fucking mad. And he went, oh my God, but I love it. And so we sort of sketched it out, potentially how it could look. And next day we said to the partners, come and have a look at this. They come down. Wayne was like, wow, love it, you know. I think Tony was a little bit, oh God, we've already done our dough in, you know, Boho and whatever. I said, This is the place. This is the place. Look at the location. That's right. I took them all down there at sunset. And we was on that roof and we see that sunset. And Ocean Club was born.
So
I'll come up for air now.
Tony, this is fantastic. You've got no idea.
I actually haven't relived that whole journey like that. It's an amazing story, you know, from being on the seat of your pants, literally the world's caving in, to suddenly next minute having one of the world's best beach club. It really is like a roller coaster. And then from that, obviously, what did you want to know? Sort of what the next sort of phase was?
Go from there.
Yeah, the next phase was first year, a bit similar to the Boho situation. We missed the early part of the summer. We missed booking talents and everything. We had a budget which we set out with Vicente, which was going to be one price, and that went up 100%. So right. straight away, the time we've opened, we're 100% over budget, and we're like in this massive debt. And then the beach club, the first year, it wasn't that busy. It wasn't that busy at all. We had a couple of good days. But we had a lot of stress. Even Dwayne wanted to walk away from it after that first year because we got even more debt, because we couldn't pay the bills and things like that. And then we realised we had to sort of raise some more equity. So that's what we did, and we went and raised some more equity. Then my partner Maxie bought into the business. Yeah. Because we needed to raise some capital to pay off the debt. And Maxie sort of helped clear some of the debt, bought a percentage of the company. And the second year, it just kicked off. I think just people had sort of seen it the first year, seen the potential. Gemma Charters came to work with us. Gemma is a friend of mine who's fantastic, amazing what she does. She came on board and we really structured all the events. We structured all the shows. We created what it is today. And then we knew we had something special on our hands. And then that third year, it went sort of doubled again. And we were like, wow, we're away now. We're away now, so let's go and find some other businesses to invest in. Yes, the hotel, the Wiki Woo.
Indeed.
Oh, God. So how long is this interview? I really don't mind. I just don't want people switching off. They'll get bored listening to me.
Tony, it wasn't planned to be this long. I didn't expect you had so much to say.
Yeah, so much to say. Then the Wiki Woo, then that's a whole different ball game altogether. Do you want to know how that come about?
Yes.
Well, that came about. I've always wanted to have a boutique hotel, and I thought, I'd love a hotel one day. So then I said to Vicente again, I said, Vicente, if any hotels ever come up, please let me know. I really, really want one. And he said, what are you going to do at the boys? I said, well, I'm going to talk to the boys, my partners, if they want to get involved. I said, but more than anything, my best mate in life, Goldie.
Yeah.
As you know, as we spoke about earlier, Goldie had always been there for me when I was younger, and he used to own houses, but he was always a Hoover repairman. And when I was skint, I used to always go around borrow money off him. And when I was really in trouble, he lent me a few grand, and he was always there. He really helped me through a lot of sort of difficult times in my life. And he was married at the time with his kids. He wasn't in the party scene, but he was always there as someone I could turn to. Yeah. And then obviously he's seen the sort of success that we'd have, and then he'd come out to Ibiza every summer for many, many years, and then had to go home and fix washing machines and dishwashers. And I just felt so sorry for him, sort of thing. And he was going, "Oh, I'd love this life." So I said to him, "Look, Gord, when I get to this stage of earning X amount of money," I said, I'll help you out. I'll get you a business or something." I think he thought I was always bullshitting.
Right.
And then one day, Vicente again rang me up and said, "I've got a hotel for you. Come and have a look." I went down, I saw it. It was the Costa Mar. And I was like, "Oh my God, love it. What an amazing location. Yeah. Front row, sunset." I hadn't told Goldie. I'd done a deal. A bit like, I like doing that. I like surprising people. I rang Goldie up. I said, "What are you doing?" And he was with this bird at the time. And I knew he wasn't happy. And he just bought a dog with her and all that. I said, "Listen," "you know what we spoke about?" I said, "Your dream's just about to come true." I said, "But you've got to do two things." And he said, "What's that?" I said, "I've bought a hotel. You can have half of it." And he said, "What?" I said, "I just bought a hotel." I said, or at least the hotel, you know. I said, "The trouble is the missus and the dog can't come. You got to get rid of." I said, "You got to get rid of both." So he was like, "Oh, but I really love that dog." So he's literally jumped off the sofa, sitting there, ended his relationship with a bird. So I said, "Keep the dog and go to Ibiza." So that, in a basic nutshell, was what happened there. So he jacked in his washing machine business. He got no idea about running a hotel whatsoever. And that's why we're quite proud it's like 40 towers. We don't pretend it's not. Do you know what I mean? And like we said, okay, what are we going to do with this hotel? So that was what that happened with that. And we opened that, and we created this Technicolor Dreamcoat Hotel. Day one from that first year, then suddenly, I think one of the big sort of Daily Mail or someone went, "Is this the most Instagrammable hotel in the world?" It suddenly boom, blew up.
You've achieved like so much. It's pretty mind blowing, especially now I get this whole journey and that. Like, what does success look like for you now?
I don't know. It's weird. I always say success is if you can get up between getting up in the morning, and going to bed at night. If you can do exactly as you please, then that's successful. Because then you feel sort of quite content and everything. Years ago, I think when I was younger, you want the money, don't you? Everyone's driven for the money. I think then when you get it, you can only, there's a great story, you can only wear one watch. It doesn't matter, they all tell at the same time. The cars all do the same thing, get you from A to B, don't they, really? I think it's just how you come in this world with nothing, go out owing as much as you can. And have a great time in between.
Whew. Take a second to catch your breath. Did you manage to keep up? I was exhausted just listening, but that was the mind-blowing whirlwind of a journey from Tony Truman. Summer is finally starting to look like it might just happen after all. So we're hoping that Boris is going to let us go and see Tony this summer out at O Beach in Ibiza. For all of the info on our parties both there and at STK, just head over to Candypants Ibiza on Instagram. We'll be back next week with the boys from Couture Club. And don't forget, you can also listen to Candypants Radio by simply searching Candypants wherever you like to listen to your podcasts. But until then, thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you all very soon.